Artificial intelligence is everywhere right now. It's in your computers, it's in your mobile phones, it's in your tablets. I even have AI in my notepad. Why would I ever need AI in my notepad? I am asking the question if these systems can actually help us, support us in creating good projects, good programs that help society. I asked some of the experts in the field of social innovation and social entrepreneurship to see if they think that these AI systems can support us in creating projects for the common good. There's this really cool survey out there, just published, that asks social entrepreneurs how they use AI and how they see AI. And it's just a tremendous report. You should really look into it. It's down in the thingy where you put links and stuff. I talked to one of the persons responsible for the survey, Matthias. He's just a cool guy. And he talked to me about the results of this report. Let's check it out.
80% of the people in the survey were saying that they see great benefit in AI for their work on a number of issues, increasing their own productivity, making them more efficient, helping them making their already very resource-intensive work be lighter, saving costs. The list continues. They see the benefit to an absolute overwhelming majority.
So, okay, cool. AI can help in administration and stuff. We know that already. My question is deeper than that. My question is not about if it can support the support structures that we need in order to do projects for the common good. My question is rather if these tools are able to open up new pathways of creating positive social impact. So not as support systems. I mean, that's cool. Yeah, let's do that. But more about if there's stuff that you couldn't do without AI, that you couldn't do before, where you have new ways of creating social impact. I mean, if that's possible, that's really a game changer. And Matthias had this to say about this.
Other ones that we see in the second group where AI becomes the driving force and the enabler of that impact to exist.
Okay, so what he says is basically that because of AI, now we have a new tool that opens up these possibilities of creating impact that wasn't really possible before. But if that's true, all of the strategies to create social impact could potentially be heightened through AI, through the use of AI. I talked to another expert, Odin. Odin is working for Ashoka. Ashoka is a network of social entrepreneurs that's active around the world, and he's creating AI systems for Ashoka. He's like tinkering and doing these elaborate systems. It's really cool what he's doing. And he had this to say about strategic alignment with AI when you create social impact.
Any strategy that any social entrepreneur develops must answer the question, what role does AI play in this strategy? If you can't answer that, you might as well not do the thing you want to do, because another actor will do it more efficiently or will do it more efficiently in 2 years. You can't compete. Like, it's the efficiency gains or the elegance with which you can do many things is just way higher if you use AI in the right way. And so you can't ignore that anymore.
So AI might be extremely useful for social entrepreneurs, for social innovators, people who want to create projects for the common good. And he had this super cool metaphor to explain why he thinks that is.
Imagine you had an army of intelligent, not quite reliable, not super emotionally intelligent interns. What would you do with them? Because whatever this army can do, AI can also do.
So imagine you have the possibility to have an army of not really smart or emotionally capable interns, but nevertheless, you have like thousands of them at your disposal through AI. Why not use that? And then, of course, comes the question, how can you use it? What is an example? I visited one example, Frontline, a social enterprise based here in Berlin, and talked to Sabina. They are working with the topic of domestic violence. It's a very entrenched, difficult problem to solve, and AI is actually helping them solve that problem.
The reason we are working in domestic violence is because it's an issue that's on the rise, including in places like Germany. We've created Lizzie as a digital web app, which can be used either directly by the victim or it can be administered by the frontline person. And it consists of a short and long version. The short version, what is being used in the sector most of the time, looking at physical abuse. Whereas the long version is focused on all of the different types of abuse, creating a landscape of the possible abuse and also repeat abuse, depending on what the person chooses to disclose.
Frontline created this software that does a risk assessment. Frontline workers such as police or social workers can go to their target group and ask their target group. And they fill it in, and then the software spits out a percentage of how high is the probability that that person is living in domestic violence.
Now we're working on releasing Lizzie as a WhatsApp bot as well, because our current tool is focused on frontline people. However, you might be in a situation of risk and you might not be quite sure that you're in an abusive relationship. And then Lizzie can help you figure that out and also find the resources that are appropriate for you. And also, if you know a loved one that's suffering from domestic abuse, or you're concerned that they may be suffering from domestic abuse, you can then go and fill out the questionnaire on their behalf. And this way you can be redirected to resources that will help you support them better. We built Lizzie mainly for people in the front lines. So this would be police, doctors, social workers who interact with domestic violence victims on a day-to-day and need to assess their level of risk. And then when they know that someone is at a high, medium, or low risk, they then can allocate support, different types of support, learn what type of support is needed, and also how much support. So if a victim is labeled as high risk, that directs a lot more support towards them. So then making sure that we get this right is quite important.
It's important to recognize that these AI systems are not perfect. They do not give perfect answers. They are programmed by people using data from people. So whatever you are creating, it's just not perfect.
These are models, and models are not meant to be perfect, they're meant to be useful. So we're not living in a world where we can predict with 100% accuracy, but we can predict with 80% accuracy, and that's already quite good.
Frontline is one example of many social entrepreneurs and social innovators who are using AI to open up new possibilities of creating social impact. There's others, and Matthias told me about one of those.
There is one example of an AI-first social enterprise that we're quite excited about, which is called Benthos. It is run by a group of people that collect indigenous knowledge about nature conservation, and they build their own AI tools, and then to the user and to the audience that would come in the form of, say, a chatbot, where people that are involved in nature conservation or want to do regenerative farming or anything that it has to do with preserving nature and natural habitat biodiversity can have conversations with this trained AI, but trained on really grounded, very authentic, very deep, sometimes century-old knowledge.
I was lucky enough to also talk to the founder, Franciele, about her startup, and this is what she had to say.
My name is Franciele Monteiro. I'm the founder of Benthos, and we build AI tools that are more context-aware and relevant for coastal communities. so they can use it as our co-pilot for their conservation effort.
And as stated before, there are many, many more examples of social entrepreneurs and social innovators using AI for the common good. And the thing is, it turns out to be actually quite simple to use AI tools. Odin talked me through and showed me how it can be done.
Like, at least on paper, I'm leading an AI lab, but like it goes to show how little, like how easy it is to use this technology. If a little hobby coder like me can do it with a bit of training and doing a few online courses and tinkering a few years, then like the entry barriers are really low. And at this point, at least for easy applications, you don't even need that much. Like, you just tell the AI what you want and you get what you want. So like, it's at this point, what we are trying to do is just make people realize that they don't have to be afraid. Like in the past, when you wanted to create a new software or make your internal processes more efficient, that was always a big thing. Like you had to have like a 15-page software design document. You needed to really know what you want. You had to buy expensive external vendors to build it for you. Yeah, horrible. Yeah. Today, you just describe the process that you're going through repeatedly, which is kind of boring and which your employees basically hate doing. Yeah. You type that into an AI application, you get a first prototype, you tweak it, you find out what needs to be different, you go to an external tinkerer, pay them $1,000, you have your app. So like, it's a completely new world, so many opportunities now, but it also means that we have to basically forget how these things used to work in the past and use those opportunities. And my guess would be the organizations who do can survive, and those who don't, yeah.
But AI is not just a tool and not just a technology. It's actually a social technological artifact, and we have to consider, especially as social innovators and social entrepreneurs, we have to consider how this thing is built and who is building it and why they are building it and what it is doing to society and the environment. So there's a dilemma, and we have to talk about this dilemma.
A lot of social entrepreneurs and change makers and activists out there in the world do see the benefits of AI and how it is helping them. Around 65% of those that we have interviewed, nearly 1,000 from around the world, are using it almost on a daily level. And at the same time, there are these concerns, the most prominent being the one about the energy consumption and the CO2 emissions and the data centers' environmental impact. At the same time, there seems to be a growing understanding that we also need to look behind the curtain, question what the social implications are on topics such as, copyrights, who are the people that create and polish and annotate the data. The social dimension of AI seems to, at least in our observation, gain importance, gain understanding. It is more talked about, and I think that is a healthy dialogue.
That's a very big dilemma. It's very useful, but it can also be very harmful. Although Odin had this to say about the energy use.
So here's an actual stat. Like a normal user using ChatGPT for a full year takes the energy of a hot bath. Of course, AI, globally speaking, is now consuming a lot of energy. But that's because it creates so much value. If you are concerned about your digital energy consumption, stop watching TikTok videos. That's really where energy is being consumed, because video hosting and transferring and that's much, like the impact of that is still pretty small, but way larger than a few like AI prompts. So don't be concerned about the energy consumption of AI. When you have a system where these kinds of considerations start playing a role, you are so advanced that you will be able to optimize. Until then, forget about it. It's not relevant.
There's a lot of data centers being built just for AI, and they are utilizing so much energy and so much water, and that's just on top of the data centers that we already have. So I think, yeah, although it might be right that one search or through an AI is probably not that big of a deal, but it's the accumulated use of AI, right? So I'm a bit split on that. But where I'm not split on is the question of ownership of AI and especially the data. The algorithm can only be as good as the data you're using.
If your data is bad, you can have the best model in the world and it's not going to work. AI bias is mainly coming from data bias, because assuming that you've already taken you've used the best practices in creating an AI model, then the only thing that's left is data. And if you use data from criminal justice settings, you're going to perpetuate those same biases. And this is exactly why we've also worked with a market research organization to get data that doesn't have this bias, doesn't have the bias of being interviewed by police officers. It doesn't have the bias of the police officers when they interview you, and is just someone replying to a survey within their own time, within the comfort of their home, hopefully.
So maybe we should be a bit careful. I mean, this first look at AI, it really promises so much. It promises this world of, I don't know, 1,000 not so smart interns. That's really cool. But at the same time, it's adding a lot of harm to our society and our environment. And it's also about how we implement these systems. So if we are using the systems, of course, the prompt could be good, the data could be good, the algorithm could be good. But the way we actually use it with our target groups can create a lot of hindrances and harm.
AI is fantastic, but I think how it's implemented is the most important thing. Because, for example, like if you look at simple results from machine learning experiments, you might find, oh, the model works best with like 20 questions, but you give that to a healthcare practitioner and they're like, when am I going to ask 20 questions to someone who's in the ER? So it's a lot about, is this actually useful?
And that implementation problem, where you have high-tech AI systems, and then on the other side, your target group, can be quite challenging at times. Francielli is actually talking about this in this little clip.
So our main challenge is to bridge the gap between the coastal communities we work with, but often cannot afford the tools we are building together. And on the other side, we have a funding system that prioritizes fast scalability and growth. Balancing this kind of making sense of the technology and having funds to build it is quite a challenge, especially when we're starting. So in the early stages where you're still testing and piloting, it's very difficult to focus on scalability over long-term sustainability. The pace when we work with coastal communities projects, other NGOs, small projects, they have small staff, and sometimes they cannot just be all involved in the tool and the projects you are working together. So there is a pace on the work and timelines that you also need to respect. But then in the other side, if you want to scale a product and testing many places, then it is difficult to balance these both situations.
There's one more thing, however. There is a connection between fascism and artificial intelligence. In his book, Artificial Intelligence and the New Fascism, Rainer Mühlhoff, who is a philosopher, talks about how the philosophy, the ethics behind AI, and especially the people building the AI, is very close to fascism. So he looks at different streams of philosophy and thought that many of the creators, the builders, the producers of artificial intelligence believe in. And one of the beliefs of many of the tech creators is that in order for this tech determinism, for this beautiful utopian world where tech is delivering us the best lives, is only possible if we go through a very dark age. And that dark age, in order for it to come, it also needs maybe a monarchy or an authoritarian leader to, get the ball rolling and to get all the tech that we need in place to lift all the laws and regulations from tech so that it can be developed rapidly. And although I think that there is some truth in tech being a very beautiful tool for human beings. I mean, I'm recording on a camera and I have a light and stuff like that, right? I think this absolute belief that only tech can save us from evil isn't true. So if you are thinking about creating some wonderful application, an AI bot that's creating social impact, maybe you should think about what you will do with your resources. It's probably not a good idea to give all your data and your money to those who want to create this tech monarchy, this tech dark age, and rather use the AI systems that are open source. You can install them locally. You don't have to give out your data. You don't have to throw money at these tech oligarchs, if you want to call them that. So be careful. If you want to create good with the tech that we have, you always have to question the tech. Don't just blindly use it. Use it carefully and intentionally.